This morning, Freedom fast-tracked major changes to Sydney's roadmap for the fully vaccinated. Global pledge, leaders agree to slash methane emissions to help slow climate change. Home loan warning, Australia's Reserve Bank signals an interest rate hike could come sooner than promised. And East Coast drenching, severe storms and heavy rain on the way. How long the soggy conditions will hang around.
This is 7 News with Jody Spears.
Good morning. The reopening roadmap will be brought forward for the fully vaccinated in New South Wales. From Monday, the 20-person limit on home visitors will be scrapped. The 50-person limit on outdoor gatherings will also go. And for non-essential retail and restaurants, 1 person per 2 square metres instead of 4 will be allowed. Plus, dancing in nightclubs will return.
How good is it that we've actually faced down this enemy of this hidden virus and managed to get our freedoms back?
Restrictions remain in place for the unvaccinated until December 15 or until the state hits its 95% vaccination target. COVID tests are about to join milk and bread in the shopping cart. Rapid testing kits will be available at Woolworths from today as the supermarket giant starts stocking its shelves. Each kit will cost between $10 and $15 and come in packs of 3 or 5. They will be available from the customer service desk. The first direct service from Sydney to London has touched down in the United Kingdom. QF1 was the first Qantas international flight to leave Australia since the travel ban was lifted. It crossed paths with return service QF2, which departed for Sydney. The race that stops the nation has reignited Melbourne. 10,000 people were allowed trackside at Flemington to watch Very Elegant claim a surprise Melbourne Cup victory. Thousands more gathered at bars, restaurants and beaches, but no one was more delighted than the men behind the win.
I don't know. I just can't believe what's just happened.
To do it with a mare like Very Elegant, it's very special, and especially with what everyone in Australia's been through with COVID, it's been a tough ride.
A crowd of 17,000 were allowed at Sydney's Royal Randwick Racecourse. 3,000 Queenslanders remain stranded interstate while the number of staff working in the exemption unit has dropped. At its peak, there were 92 staff working in the unit. There's now 85. Residents have been locked out of the state since August, some forced to live in their cars near the New South Wales border. Scott Morrison has met Prince Charles at the Climate Summit in Glasgow. The pair chatted ahead of the Commonwealth Leaders' reception with the Prime Minister promoting Australia's climate credentials.
But now we've committed to net zero by 2050. Australia's done that here at COP26, doubled our climate finance commitments. The
meeting comes weeks after Prince Charles criticised the PM before he'd made the commitment to attend the conference. Meantime, mining magnate Andrew Forrest has met US President Joe Biden at the Glasgow Climate Summit. The billionaire is today launching a global advertising campaign to convince the fossil fuel industry that the future lies in green hydrogen. More than 90 countries are signing up to a global methane pledge. They've agreed to cut emissions by 30% by 2030. Methane is the world's second largest contributor to climate change among greenhouse gases.
One of the most potent greenhouse gases there is. It amounts to about half the warming we're experiencing today.
World leaders have also vowed to end deforestation by 2030. Australia's Reserve Bank has kept interest rates at the record low of 0.1% for the 12th month in a row, but a hike could come sooner than the 2024 target. Let's go live now to political reporter Taylor Aiken in Canberra. Good morning, Taylor. A hike could be on the horizon.
Yeah, that's right, Jody. The RBA saying the stronger than expected bounce back in the economy has led to potentially a sooner than expected rate hike. The RBA left the official cash rate on hold yesterday, keeping it at the record low of 0.1%. However, the language around this decision has shifted, with some lenders predicting rates will start rising 1 year earlier than expected in 2023. This is off the back of core inflation figures rising to 2.1% in the September quarter. But a hike in interest rates also affects home loans. The RBA isn't considering hiking rates to slow the growing alarm around the property price market and housing affordability. Instead, the RBA Governor, Dr. Philip Lowe, says the government should be looking at changes to tax rules and increasing housing stock to help slow the booming property market. Jody?
Okay, Taylor Aiken, thank you. New data has revealed $38 billion in JobKeeper payments went to companies that did not fall below thresholds. When announcing the wage subsidy program, the federal government said most companies would need to show a 30% fall in turnover, but the rules were relaxed to allow employers to qualify based on an estimation. Some MPs are saying this led to some of the biggest waste in the country's history. Controversial Victorian MP Tim Smith is going against his boss's wishes, saying he won't resign from state parliament. Opposition leader Matthew Guy told Smith not to run in next year's election after he crashed his car while more than twice the legal alcohol limit. It's understood Mr Smith is considering hanging on despite his leader's public comments. The investigation to find missing WA girl Cleo Smith has taken another sinister turn, with police now searching the dark web for any sign of the 4-year-old. It's now 18 days since she disappeared from her family's tent. Detectives believe they are closer to identifying every person who was in the area where she was last seen. They also believe an opportunistic abductor snatched her. The east coast of Australia will cop a drenching this week, with severe thunderstorm warnings in place for New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland. The Bureau has confirmed a lingering trough moving towards the east is to blame. Heavy rain and storms will intensify over the next few days and into the weekend. Melbourne's average rainfall is 60 millimetres in November. They are forecast to get up to 25 millimetres today, nearly half the monthly total. A quick check of sport now, and Joe Root says Australia's upset loss to India at the Gabba earlier this year will be a confidence booster for England heading into the Ashes.
I think it just proves to the rest of the world that it's not a place you can't go and win. And I think it's just making sure that we do the work now.
The England captain says Ben Stokes' late addition to the squad has boosted their hopes of reclaiming the urn. And Australia will need to win their next 2 games to remain in contention for the T20 World Cup after South Africa consolidated the second spot in Group 1 following a thumping 6-wicket win over Bangladesh. The Proteas chased down the Tigers below par total of 84 runs.
So David Miller, all the confidence, finishes it in style.
Pakistan have qualified for the semi-finals after putting on the second 100-plus partnership in the Super 12s in their 45-run win over Namibia. Checking Wednesday's weather now, partly cloudy in Brisbane, heading for a top of 25 degrees. Partly cloudy and 25 as well in Sydney. Partly cloudy in Canberra, also heading for 25. Humid with rain increasing in Melbourne, 25 the top. Rain developing in Hobart, also heading for 25. 23 with showers easing in Adelaide. Partly cloudy, 23 in Perth, and a shower or two and a possible storm, 36 in Darwin. Coming up on 7 Early News, a check of finance, plus clear skin with a natural remedy, the new treatment making major changes. And the dangers of dogs not wearing seatbelts. That's next. The stories we're following on Early News. The New South Wales Premier has announced a major change to the reopening roadmap. Fully vaccinated people will have further freedoms from Monday. There's been a major announcement at the Climate Summit in Glasgow, with more than 90 countries pledging to cut methane emissions. Australia's Reserve Bank has signalled a hike in interest rates could come sooner than expected, and the East Coast is about to cop a drenching, with Melbourne forecast to get nearly half their monthly rain total today alone. A young police officer is recovering after being slashed with a knife while responding to a domestic violence incident in Sydney. The probationary constable, just 6 months into the job, was treated for cuts and a dislocated shoulder after the incident at Gladesville. A 38-year-old man has now been charged with attempted murder. A dog is lucky to be alive after it was sent flying from the back of a ute in far north Queensland. The incredible sight was captured on a Good Samaritan's dashboard camera.
Renee Oliver was waiting at a roundabout north of Cairns and couldn't believe her eyes when a dog flew from the back of a white Mitsubishi. Rolling and skidding across the bitumen, the dog landed, stunned, on all four paws.
It landed on its back, did a few tumbles here and there, and I was just in shock.
So was the dog. We don't know her name, but anyone who saw this would call her lucky. Renee got out and picked up the startled staffy before chasing after the dog's oblivious owner.
And picked her up and put her in the back of my seat, and lucky enough someone told him that the dog was missing, and I said, "Mate, I've got your dog, I've got your dog."
The lucky dog had a few scratches and was shaken but seemed okay, happy to be reunited with her owner.
I think he was in shock himself, because he didn't realise the dog was actually out of the car.
The RSPCA recommends carrying furry family members inside the cabin or have them restrained in the tray.
If they're tethered, the tether has to be short enough that they can't fall off the edge.
Because as Lucky found out, dogs aren't meant to fly. Crystal Etherington, 7 News.
The Corruption Commission's report into Gladys Berejiklian is unlikely to be handed down until the middle of next year. Lawyers for the former New South Wales Premier have until February 14 to finalise their submissions. Her successor, Dominic Perrottet, says he'll outlaw private phones for MPs if ICAC recommends it, after the hearing was told that Daryl Maguire urged Ms Berejiklian to buy one. It impacts up to 85% of us, but a pair of local entrepreneurs believe they've found a cure for acne, creating a natural approach that has now been approved by the TGA, with claims it's capable of banishing blemishes in just a few days.
Struggling with his skin, Riva Botha spent thousands of dollars on acne treatments, products and supplements that delivered little to no benefit.
Most of the products that are actually available are Band-Aid solutions that aren't actually designed to target the root cause.
Eventually finding his cure after he listened to his gut.
My acne was actually stemming from my poor gut health.
Our skin and gut are very closely interlinked.
Together with a friend, the pair created PuraU, a 20-day gut cleanse boasting high-quality ingredients, including vitamins B2, B3, C and D3, plus zinc, coenzyme Q10 and milk thistle, that's now been approved by the TGA.
It builds good bacteria in your gut to treat and help you with things like bloating, adult acne.
But doctors and nutritionists warn this shouldn't and can't replace a balanced, nutritious diet. Rather, these supplements will only work if they're used as part of a healthy lifestyle.
If you don't sleep well, don't eat well, if you stress too much, I don't think there's any amount of supplement that can save you.
Suggesting a trip to your doctor or health professional before getting started.
Find somebody that is willing to sit down, listen to you, hear your story and actually help you find the right solution.
Amber Laidler, 7 News.
Checking finance now, the Dow Jones is trading higher, the Nasdaq is also up. In London, the FTSE fell and Germany's DAX gained. Closer to home, Japan's Nikkei closed 126 points lower. Hong Kong's Hang Seng was also down. The All Ords finished 46 points lower. The ASX 200 also ended the session in the red. On the commodities market, gold is trading at $1,788 an ounce. Oil is $84 a barrel. The Aussie dollar buying 74 US cents, 84.5 Japanese yen, and $1.04 New Zealand. Coming up on 7 Early News, brazen attack, a shopkeeper's terrifying ordeal with a Molotov cocktail. And jabs for kids. The Pfizer vaccine could be rolled out to under 12s within days. Live to the US next. The stories we're following on Early News. Fully vaccinated people in New South Wales will have further freedoms from Monday, with the New South Wales Premier announcing major changes. More than 90 countries at the Climate Summit in Glasgow have pledged to cut methane emissions to slow climate change. Australia's Reserve Bank has signalled a hike in interest rates could come sooner than expected. And Melbourne is forecast to get nearly half their monthly rain total today alone as the East Coast prepares for a drenching. Accused sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell has suffered a series of legal setbacks while appearing in court in person for only the second time. A Manhattan judge dismissed last-minute restrictions her lawyers attempted to impose ahead of trial, allowing her alleged victims to testify under pseudonyms. The British socialite denies committing any crimes. The trial begins later this month. The US could begin rolling out the Pfizer vaccine to children aged 5 to 11 within days as an expert panel prepares to give final approval. Let's go live now to US Bureau Chief Ashley Mullaney. Good morning, Ash. Millions of doses are ready to be rolled out.
That's right, Jodie. This is the final step in approving this vaccine for children aged 5 to 11. After the FDA signed off on it, the CDC will today hold a vote. This vaccine, 90% effective in preventing COVID-19 in young children aged 5 to 11. The dose will be a smaller dose, so it will be a third of the size of that given to adults. The government has already started shipping out this vaccine, 15 million doses sent around America. So it's likely as soon as that vote takes place today, vaccines will start being administered into children aged 5 to 11. Jodie?
Okay, Ash, thank you. At least 19 people have been killed and more than 50 injured after twin blasts hit a military hospital in Afghanistan. The explosions were quickly followed by gunfire at the entrance to the building in the capital, Kabul. No one has claimed responsibility for the attack. Witnesses say Islamic State fighters stormed the hospital and clashed with security forces. 6 people are dead and 100 missing after a high-rise building collapsed in Nigeria. Rescuers have pulled 3 people from the wreckage of the 2-storey building, which was under construction in Lagos. Desperate relatives of those missing have gathered near the site. Most still trapped inside are construction workers. Dramatic surveillance video has captured the moment a man threw a Molotov cocktail into a New York deli, setting it on fire. Video from inside the store shows the moment of impact, and within seconds the shop was in flames. The deli owner says the man who threw the cocktail was a disgruntled customer. He's since been arrested and is facing multiple charges. The east coast of Australia has a new band of multi-millionaires this morning. A stunned Queensland woman and a Victorian syndicate will share last night's $15 million Oz Lotto jackpot. The stunned woman from Mackay plans to use her fortune to retire early. Some members of the Victorian group have yet to discover the winning news. Each entry takes home $25 million. In sport, Very Elegant has won this year's Melbourne Cup, a first for both jockey James McDonald and trainer Chris Waller. The mare snatched victory from favourite Incentivise, storming home in the final stretch to win by 4 lengths. The race that usually stops the nation, becoming one that restarted Melbourne yesterday, with 10,000 people allowed at Flemington Racecourse and many more flocking to bars, restaurants and beaches. England says it will be drawing confidence from Australia's upset loss to India at the Gabba earlier this year ahead of their Ashes tour next month. English skipper Joe Root also saying Ben Stokes' late addition boosting their hopes of reclaiming the urn. In the T20 World Cup, South Africa have moved to second spot behind England in Group 1 after a thumping 6-wicket win over Bangladesh, while Pakistan qualifies for the semi-finals after their 45-run win over Namibia. Tottenham have confirmed they've signed Antonio Conte as their new manager for 2 years. The former Chelsea manager replaces Nuno Espirito Santo, who was sacked earlier this week following a poor run of results. Conte won the Premier League with Chelsea in 2017. His first game in charge will be in the European Conference League against Dutch side Vitesse. Supercars has been thrown into turmoil just days after the season resumed in Sydney, with a driver at risk of being thrown out over his COVID vaccine status. It's believed that New South Wales Health is investigating David Reynolds over whether the vaccine exemption he used to enter the state is valid. Sydney Motorsport Park will host the next 3 weekends of racing before the season-ending Bathurst 1000. Coming up on 7 Early News, a closer look at how the weather's shaping up in your part of the country. The winner of the Word of the Year should come as no surprise considering we're in a global pandemic. The honour, on behalf of the company which publishes the Oxford English Dictionary, goes to the word vax. Vax is a slang word for vaccine or vaccination, which has definitely become part of our everyday vocabulary. Taking a look at the weather around the country now, troughs with areas of low pressure will bring rain and storms to parts of northern WA, the Northern Territory, northern South Australia, Western Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria. A front will cause gusty winds and rain over Tasmania. Around the capitals today, partly cloudy in Brisbane, a top of 25 degrees. Partly cloudy also in Sydney, 25. Partly cloudy in Canberra, 25. Humid with rain increasing in Melbourne, also heading for 25. Rain developing in Hobart, a top of 25. Showers easing in Adelaide, 23 the top. Partly cloudy in Perth, also heading for 23. And a shower or two and a possible storm in Darwin, 36 degrees. And that's 7 Early News for this Wednesday, the 3rd of November 2021. I'm Jodie Spears. Now it's time for Sunrise with Koshi and Nat.
Developing now, Freedom fast-tracked major changes to Sydney's roadmap. The new wave of relaxed rules rolling in next week. Everything you need.